Today on Investor Insights, we've got Executive Co-Chairman Michael Spreadborough of Novo Resources joining us. Novo is a mineral explorer with one of the largest prospective gold and battery metals packages in Pilbara, Western Australia. And I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Wednesday, July the 5th. But please remember, this is neither recommendation or investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Michael, thanks a lot for joining us. It's early in the morning for you in Australia, so thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us and introduce Novo to new investors and provide an update for existing shareholders. So with that introduction, we welcome you here, and please walk us through the Novo story.
Thank you very much, Martin. It's a pleasure to be here to provide everyone with a good update of Novo, whether you're an existing shareholder or you're looking to invest in a wonderful gold stock that sits on the TSX, but also it's got an OTC platform. For those that are familiar with the Novo story, know that we've been listed for a long time on the TSX. We did enter a production phase. Unfortunately, that didn't work, and 12 to 18 months ago, we ceased production, and we've now really moved back into being a gold explorer across a very large tenement package in Australia, which we'll talk about. We are in a very good position, and hopefully today's update will give you a good insight on where we are. You'll notice I'm using a deck here. You'll find on the website both a video about Novo, but also you'll find the June corporate presentation. So please refer that to any more detail, and also particularly some of the footnotes on that presentation that will give you a bit more detail. So let's move forwards. As always, normal cautionary statement. For Novo, in our large area that we work across the Pilbara, we work with 9 traditional owners across our ground. They're very important to us. We work with them to establish win-win relationships. Working with traditional owners is very important for our exploration effort to push ahead with land access. So they're very important to our success, and us understanding their culture is very important to our work. So as I said, Novo is an Australian-based TSX-listed gold explorer. As you can see on the map here of Western Australia, most of our tenements are up in the northwest of Western Australia in the Pilbara, but we also down the bottom in Victoria have a little project called Beltopper. So that northwest of Western Australia, the Pilbara, is our home. We have over 10,500 square kilometres. Normally, I'd say to people, that's roughly about 80% of the size of Connecticut. So it's quite a large land package. It's over 400 or 500 kilometres in width. Our whole focus is to look for standalone gold projects that have the potential to be over 1 million ounces. So that's our focus. Our projects in the Pilbara are quite advanced, and you'll hear us talk about some of these projects. So you can see them on the map. We'll definitely talk about Besha, we'll talk about Nunnery, we'll talk about Balla Balla. They're our key projects, and obviously Beltopper down in Victoria. The real fresh news for us is 2 weeks ago we signed an agreement with De Grey Mining. De Grey Mining we'll talk a bit about, but it's a $2 billion ASX gold developer. They've entered joint venture arrangements with us for the exploration of Besha, but also they've put $10 million into Novo. So that is a fantastic contribution from them, but also a resounding tick of approval for what our exploration people do. This deal, the Edge in a joint venture as it's called, really de-risks the movement of us and our exploration in Besha, our flagship project, and it really allows us to move into other areas for exploration that we haven't been getting to. So the De Grey story is very, very important and fantastic. We've got a board based both in Australia and in Denver. So Quentin Henny is our non-executive co-chairman. He's been part of the founder of the company. Myself as executive co-chairman. Michael Barrett's director based in Australia. He's got a finance background. Ross Hamilton is a director based in Australia. He's got an ESG background. Amy is based in Denver with a legal COSEC background. CFO is Ronan, and really, the most important person on this page is Kaz DeLuca, who's our General Manager of Exploration. She leads the team that is having this great success for exploration, and Kaz brings a very international gold-focused exploration experience. So a quick overview of the balance sheet. Where we sit today, we've got about $30 million in cash, and we have some marketable securities, which you can see on the detail of the presentation on the website. Most of those are unlisted, a little bit illiquid. So the important thing is we have 30 million in cash. But I do warn you, some of that cash is contributed to tax that we have to pay, about $7.5 million over the next 3 months. So just take that number off. We've flagged that in our financials that we need to pay the government some tax. So our major shareholder base is very strong. De Grey have joined us obviously with the $10 million investment. They carry 11.6% of the register at the moment. IMC, which was part of the Nullagine Gold Project purchase, have a position there just under 7%. Eric Sprott, global, resource-based billionaire that loves Western Australia, is on our register. Litam is part of our lithium divestment. Mark Creasy is a bit like Eric. He's an explorer, very successful in Western Australia. He likes what he sees with us, and he's on our register as well. And then we've got Crescat Capital out of Denver, at 3.5%, which great support. And then we've got a couple majors. Agnico's at 2.6%, the big global mining house, and just below that you'd have Newmont at 2%. So we've got a very good, strong support base, which is good. So this is the Pilbara. This is a blow up of that picture up the front. So if you focus in the center portion first, so Becher is the project that we're going to talk about. It sits on what we call the Egina Gold Camp. The Egina Gold Camp between Becher and Nunnery is about 80 kilometres of continuous tenements that we hold either directly or in joint venture. We believe this area is very prospective for gold. So Becher, we've been drilling there since September, and that's the area that we've done the joint venture with De Grey. Nunnery North at the bottom of Egina Gold Camp, I'll show a slide of some of the great gold results there. We'll start drilling in August. Also look at Balla Balla up on the coast of northwest Pilbara. Balla Balla is an area that we've had for a long time, but we haven't had the opportunity to get on the ground and do reconnaissance exploration and hopefully drilling later this year. So we're going to move into that. On the western side of our tenements around West Pilbara, some of you will be aware that we've put out an announcement that we're looking for different owners for that area. It's very prospective for nickel, so we're looking for people that might value that land a little bit more than us as gold explorers. And then on the right-hand side of the map, you've got the Nullagine Gold Project, which was the area that was in operations. We suspended operations middle of last year, but it's got a fantastic processing facility and infrastructure base, and we're currently working through a process of looking for another strategic owner. And the brown that sits around Quartz Hill is our lithium joint venture. So Novo, whilst we're a pure gold explorer, we do have exposures, both nickel in the western part of our area and lithium on the eastern part of our tenement package. So all up, a very large tenement package that we continue to work through. You'll see the amount of tenements we have reduce over the next 12 months as we complete reconnaissance and really improve the quality of the tenement base that we hold. So a little bit more on De Grey. So as I said, those who aren't familiar with De Grey, they're our neighbours. They have over 2,500 square kilometres of ground just north of our Becher project. So that's in the grey in our picture here. They're a $2 billion gold developer. Only 5 years ago, they were like us, drilling projects in the Malina Basin, looking for the next discovery, and they found Hemi, which has turned out to be all up, Hemi and the rest of their projects in the Malina, 11.6 million ounces. So it's huge. They're in the process of DFS, so they're very advanced with their feasibility study. That will come out in Q3. So very, very exciting for them and their pathway. And they have looked at the results that we've seen from Becher. They see the similarities in that to Hemi, and they really like it. So, as I said, part of the investment, 10 million in the headco of Novo, which is a good endorsement of our exploration team, but importantly, the joint venture. And some of these numbers are very, very, very good for our shareholders. So De Grey have got the right to spend up to $25 million over 4 years on the Becher project. So that's a lot of money to be spent in exploration that will be free carried for Novo. So that's really exciting. And at the end of the day, De Grey will end up with 50% of the Becher project and surrounding tenements. I think a couple of things are really important. It de-risks the development of Becher for the Novo team. $25 million is a lot of money to put into exploration. We've been able to find someone who's going to fund that for us. 50% provides Novo with huge upside on any discoveries. And importantly, it links us with De Grey. You know, they're in a DFS. They have all intentions to building a 10-year life, 400 to 500,000 ounce production processing facility. So we'll have access to that. So I think that will reduce capital for any development that might actually happen at Becher. So all up, a really good business decision and a really good opportunity. And just as you can see on the map, you know, Becher's only 28 kilometres away from Hemi, where the processing plant will be. So, and that'll be a world-class modern processing facility. So overall, a really good deal for Novo, and I think importantly allows us to use our existing resources to go and focus on Balla Balla and other projects.
Michael,
Yeah.
sorry, could you go back a page? At the Becher, do you have to co-invest with them, or are they're doing all the investments, or is that going to require any of your balance sheet funding for
Yeah,
that?
so for the next $25 million of expenditure at Becher and those at tenements, that's 100% carried by De Grey. So two things with that. Number one is there is a requirement for them to spend a minimum of $7 million over 18 months. So that's, you know, quite clear. We don't need to do any expenditure within the 4 years, but they could accelerate the expenditure if they do like the project. So there's $25 million of expenditure into Becher that the Novo shareholders will not have to carry. But importantly, I think, you know, if you look at that map, Martin, you know, you can see the perspectiveness of the other projects just north of us. You know, Whitnall, Mallina, Tauranga, and Hemi, they all have had great results in resources, and we see the same geology.
Are they the operator of the JV? Like, who makes the decisions and that?
Yeah, good question. They're the managers of the joint venture, but under the arrangements, we get to see all the data. We get monthly reports because we actually hold the tenements as the statutory owners, and we have quarterly meetings to talk about exploration and budgeting and all those type of things. So we, whilst other managers, we get see-through to all of the decision making and all of the results that are happening through that project.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Good questions. So here's a little bit more about Becher. It is a huge area. You know, this map, you know, in metric terms, you can see the scale. It's about 8 kilometres wide and it's about 6 kilometres high. So a huge area. We started drilling September last year, having built this project up from the ground with our geologists on the ground. We've done over 60,000 metres of air core. As we just talked about, De Grey will be the joint venture exploration managers, and they took over exploration on the 1st of July. We will get a program from them in the next couple of weeks to give us a forward look of what they're looking at doing. But importantly, you can see in this picture all the structural elements that you see in here, the shears and the rock types are all very similar to Hemi. So that gives everyone great confidence. The air core, which is not very familiar necessarily in North America, and on our website there's a bit of a description of air core. But what air core does is allow you to do surface coverage through the cover material, which in this case is 20 meters. So we're able to sample 20 meters of cover and pick up the bedrock and use that analysis to guide us on what we're seeing in geology. And that work late last year showed us that we're seeing the same rock types at Hemi, the intrusions that we're looking for that were the basis of the Hemi project. So whilst people might look at this and go, well, 0.7s aren't big grams per tonne, when you consider that they're part of an upper region of the intrusion and below the cover, they give a great indication to a strong, hopefully gold mineralisation below the surface and at depth. And that's exactly what De Grey has seen in the past. The other really interesting things is these drill lines that you see on this page. You know, we started drilling at 640 meters last year. That's huge. You can hide a lot of million ounces between those lines, and we started bringing them down to 320 meters. So all up, this project has been moving in an advanced process, and things have been really exciting. So great project, really interesting results, and De Grey, based on their knowledge in the Mallina, where they've been for 4 years or 5 years, they've been able to very quickly pick up the potential and rewarded Novo shareholders with such a great deal. So we look forward to seeing this project develop under the stewardship of De Grey, but we'll see all the results, and it'll be a great asset for our shareholders.
Michael, what sort of deposit, or it's too early to call it a deposit, but what is the type of geography or mineralization that the rock
so
is?
De Grey is generally it's an intrusion related, simple geology, disseminated gold system. It's not a quartz vein system, it's a disseminated gold system. You see the De Grey ore bodies run at between 1.5 to 2.5 grams per tonne average. But again, we're talking about a big system. As in De Grey's case, they're talking about a system which is now reported over 11 million ounces of gold. So very, very big system leading to a very large production. Their PFS, as I said, was over 10 years at 450,000 ounces. So very large systems, very profitable in the Australian environment through open pit mining and very simple processing.
Gotcha. All right.
So further south, you saw that previous picture, 80 kilometres south of Becher in ground that's 70% ours and 30% Mark Creasy. Our geological team in a very remote part of Australia have delineated two really strike zones along here, one at 1.4 kilometres and the other one at 1.2. And look at the results here. We're seeing rock chips and soils over an ounce a tonne in those results. So absolutely unbelievable results here. This is now our primary target for Novo drilling. We've cleared all the hurdles. We need to get access into this area. It's about 40 kilometres off a main access road. So over the next month, we'll develop the access path into here to allow us to get a drill rig, and we'll start drilling. We'll do an initial campaign of around about 2,000 metres of drilling, and from that then we'll make decisions on the rest of the year. But this is virgin exploration country, has had zero work done in the past, that we're now building the picture up, and we're very, very excited about what we're seeing. So people should look forwards to that news flow later in the year.
With that 2,000 meters of drilling, roughly how deep how many holes is that, or roughly how deep are you going on the holes?
Yeah, so to over 2,000 metres, we'll probably drill about 12 to 15 holes in the initial phase of drilling, Martin, and then based on that wide pattern drilling and those holes, come back and start drilling deeper and closing the spacings. We like to stage our exploration, do the first initial phase, and then if it's worth continuing on with our drilling and expenditure, we will do so. So we're very toll-gated approach in our exploration. And this is a great example. Our team have been here, done the soils, done the mapping, got all the results, put together a picture, and it now warrants us doing that next level of expenditure in terms of drilling.
All right.
And this is a pure gold. The reason there's no mention of copper or silver here, that all the assays that have come back is 100% gold without any other derivative elements. So that's also promising for the future. So Balla Balla is a new area for us to do work. It's not new in our portfolio, but we've been so busy and focused on Becher, and you can see in the picture where Becher is and where Hemi and the Malina project is for De Grey in that grey area. So the Balla region is all that area along the coast. Very little exploration has been done for gold in this area. We've had, as I said, the tenements for a while. We just haven't been able to get there to do reconnaissance work. So our teams are moving into this country. We're doing the first pass reconnaissance work. We're looking at geophysical data, and we're building up a package of information. It's really driven by that shear that you see running through the package, the Shoal Shear Zone. It has some of the elements that are very similar to the Malina Basin. So we're excited about this as our next reconnaissance target. And if all goes well, we would be planning to do some drilling in the Q4 of this year. Again, using air core drilling to do initial phase. And if that's exciting, you then go deeper with RC drilling or diamond, depending on the rock type. So again, Balla Balla is a very exciting area for us, and people should keep an eye on the news flow.
And initially, are you going to be just doing some surface sampling there this summer over the next couple months, or has it been flown over?
So
that, or?
We have some high-level geophysics that have been in a public domain. So our teams will get on the ground now and take soil samples, we'll even take stream samples, rock chip samples, and they will map it from end to end, mapping all the features and rock types and structures. So we use a very technically based process. The geologists are out there with laptops doing the mapping on the ground in a digital manner, and that automatically comes back into the office when they come back, and that allows them to integrate any assay data they get from their work. It integrates the geophysics works, and importantly integrates their mapping work that they see on the ground, and that allows them to build the picture up for us to target exploration drilling in the future.
All right.
So we can't forget about Victoria. For those who have some familiarity with Australia, Victoria hosts the very high-grade Fosterville mine, which is part of the Agnico group at the moment. So Belltopper is about 50 kilometres south of Fosterville. It sits in the very prospective Bendigo zone, with Fosterville, Bendigo, Costerville mines all providing huge gold production both now and historically. So we've been a joint venture partner of these tenements, and late last year we took over 100% ownership of those tenements. We've done a lot of ground truthing on this, a lot of mapping soils, as we just talked about, ground-based geophysics. We've now pulled together a good geological model, including the excavations from previous old timing work. This is work that was done, 80, 90 years ago. So we've now built a really good picture. We've done some scout exploration drilling, and that will now lead to a program later in this year of diamond drill holes looking again for gold. So this is a little bit different to the Pilbara. We are looking for narrow, high-grade gold mineralisation like Fosterville, which has been a huge success, and in some cases has gold intersections of over 2 ounces. So that's the style that we're looking here at Belltopper.
And this is roughly in the southeast of
so it's
Australia,
the southeast
right?
of Australia, down in the state of Victoria. As you can see, Melbourne, a lot of people would know Melbourne. It's about an hour's drive north of Melbourne. So
yeah. All right.
So people don't need to kind of fully read this. It's on our website, but we're now in a position where we have a full drill plan and exploration plan for the rest of the year, so people can work through that. So all the projects we've talked about are there. The East and South Pilbara are kind of immature projects. We're out there doing reconnaissance drilling, having a look like we're doing at Balla Balla, and we'll probably do some drilling there later in the year. So it's important for people to appreciate that we've now got a good forward-looking plan going forwards. So I know some people were keen on where we are with the Nullagine Gold Project. As I said at the start, it was purchased many years ago. We had the Beatons Creek mineralisation resource, and we also had purchased a processing facility. The early stages of the oxide of mining the Beatons Creek unfortunately didn't come out as well as we liked. The grade was a bit lower, costs a bit higher, and we suspended operations last year. We still maintain a mineral resource at Beatons Creek, as you can see there, all up of around about 300,000 ounces. So it's not a big resource there. We are doing a resource update at the moment. That'll come out once we've completed, and we'll have another look at the opportunities of maybe bringing in production. But the resource base is a bit small, but it's still kind of a great asset. There's two sides of it. It is a very large tenement package that still has a lot of exploration potential that our team have been focused on, and we know that there's a range of targets there. And also, as you can see in the pictures here, it's a wonderful infrastructure. The processing plant is in very good condition. It was running, 12 months ago, producing good gold recoveries, good reliability, and was able to be run at a low cost. We also have a tailings storage facility, offices, camps. So there's a very strong infrastructure base there. And it's in care and maintenance, which is at the moment, costing us around about $600,000 a year. As we announced 2 weeks ago as part of the great thing, we are doing a strategic review. We're really focused on those exploration stories that you've just seen. We think the project at Nullagine is in a different state now compared to what Novo needs to move forwards, and we believe the asset is of great value to somewhere else. So we're out there looking at the ways that we can maximise shareholder value, either through divestment or JV. So we'll work through that, and we'll keep people up to date. the asset and the infrastructure may be useful to other people, and we'll talk to those as well. As it says, it's in good condition, could be moved. We have discussed the opportunity with De Grey, but the processing plant really isn't the size of what they are looking for. So our new partners, have passed on that, but there'll be other people looking for a 1.5 million tonne per annum crushing and milling circuit and a CIL plant. So we'll talk to those as well. So people should just keep an eye at it. We do want to try to move the cost base out of our business as quickly as we possibly can, because we want to put the money in the ground. As I said at the front, both on the east and the west Pilbara, we've got access to lithium and nickel. So on the eastern side, just near Nullagine, we actually discovered 26 kilometres of pegmatite. And whilst we haven't seen a huge presence of spodumene, we entered a joint venture partner with a group that is very lithium focused and has a strong lithium processing background. So Litam have the joint venture ability of spending $4 million, which they'll do over this year on exploration and drilling, and that will then lead to us maintaining 20%. So that gives us some upside on discovery of any lithium potential there. We want to keep focused on gold. And then on the western side of the Pilbara, as I talked about, we've got a huge land package, 240 square kilometres. We did a lot of work last year looking at the potential. You can see some of the numbers at the bottom of this slide. Some of our drilling showed really early stage assay results for both copper, nickel and cobalt. So that gave us enough excitement that we've now gone out to the marketplace and we're looking for people that might be interested in this. So no guarantee that we'll make a sale. We're always looking for the right answer in terms of shareholder value. But importantly, when you look on the map, and for those not familiar with Australia, we're kind of wedged between Artemis Resources, not Artemis Gold on the TSX, but Artemis Resources on the ASX. They have a 750,000 ounce copper, gold, cobalt project that's in early stages. So that's to the south of us, and to the north of us, the Jura project has discovered nickel, but more recently, huge spodumene bearing pegmatites. So we believe that ground will be prospective for people looking for lithium and nickel, and hopefully we'll find someone who likes it. People should realise, whilst we've got 10,000 square kilometres, it costs us a lot of money to hold that ground. So we work very strategically on whether that ground has a gold potential or whether it has a potential to someone else, because it is a long, high carrying cost. Most of those carrying costs we do absorb through doing real work, drilling and exploration on the ground. ESG is very important to us, and on the website you'll see our 2022 sustainability report, which we'll update in a couple of months. But focusing on, as I said at the start, working with the people and the communities are important. We have environmental management plans, and our exploration teams and operators work very focused on doing the best thing we can for the environment. It's a very core part of our business. So the other thing we announced a couple of weeks ago is that we're going to move to a dual listing on the ASX. So we've been on the TSX for a long time. Our home and ownership is now, or home is all based in Perth, and that's where all of our assets are. So we are looking at moving across the ASX sometime in this quarter. We believe this will give us a wider platform for our investors, and that will increase liquidity, which will be good for existing shareholders as well as new shareholders coming on. It's very hard for us to attract institutional investors from Toronto or North America, whereas the Australian institutional investors really understand gold, they understand exploration, and they understand things in their backyard, and they're definitely attuned to how good our assets are in comparison to the early stages of De Grey. So that process is underway. People should keep an eye out of it, but it really is complementary, and I think it'll be value adding to our existing platforms on the TSX and the OTC. So just to kind of wrap up, who is Novo? We are an exploration focused team. We're really focused on gold and big projects, 1 million ounce discoveries. The De Grey investment, both as a cornerstone exploration partner, is a really good turning point for us. It allows us to focus on the rest of the highly prospective portfolio. De Grey, I think, recognised the quality of exploration team, recognised the quality of the ground, and that drove that investment. We'll continue to look for good opportunities around our existing tenements in the Pilbara, so that's exciting. At the moment, we've got enough funds to keep us going, for the immediate future, notwithstanding that we've got to pay some tax, and the dual listing will add more value. And behind the scenes, we've got a great exploration team and a management team that are focused on that. So that's Novo. Please definitely delve into the website and get more details, and there's a great video there. So Martin, I'll hand over to you to walk through some questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. That was a good overview here. You've got a huge land packages. And what is the overall strategy of Novo? Is it you're optioning some of them off? You've talked about the high carrying costs. How far are you going to move projects along before you option them off? Just your general strategy with all these different assets you have. Are you planning on bringing any specific ones to production if everything kind of goes right? Could you just talk about that in general?
Yeah, so look, in general, our key focus at the moment is on that land package. As I said, it's a large land package. It has a huge holding cost. We are working as rapidly as we can to kind of work through that package and work out the ones that we should, move on in exploration and some that we should let go. If you're looking historically, I think last year, 12 months ago, we were about 14,000 square kilometres. So we've dropped a lot of land that we just don't think is, got value or prospectivity for gold. And then it's a really staged process. So, Becher, our tier kind of 1 project, we were there doing drilling continuously. It was at that stage where we thought the investment allowed us to really focus on drilling out that mineralisation package to understand what's going on. And in that case, we saw the best value for shareholders was integrating it with De Grey. But that's not always the case. We will take each project on its merits. Nunnery, tier 2 project. We've done the reconnaissance work. We like it. We'll get in there and now do this first pass drilling, 2,000 metres. And then we'll make a decision to continue the drilling and build that picture up, hopefully into a resource. Whether we then take it to the next pathway for development is a different story, but definitely, our approach will be to spend the time and effort to build into a resource base that adds value to shareholders. But we are agnostic about, as an explorer, moving into development just because it's a nice project. It might be better value for shareholders to have someone else commit capital to building a project if it was of that stage. And then, tier 3 projects like Balla Balla, early days, a bit like Nunnery, we'll go and do the early works, do some scout drilling. If what we like happens, we'll then get into more systematic drilling like we're doing at Nunnery and then what you've seen at Becher. Overall, the focus is to move that, if you exclude Nullagine, move our exploration package along through those tiers, and there will be projects that, after tier 1 work, after tier 3 work on the ground, we don't like them, we'll let them go. So people shouldn't be worried about the package getting smaller. It just means it's getting higher quality and our cost base of ownership's dropping off.
Gotcha. Could you talk a little bit for us Canadians who may not know Australia that well? In Canada, we've got to worry about drilling seasons because of weather or mountains and so forth. Is it, I don't know, like the land, like the photo you've got as your backdrop there?
Yes.
While I'm guessing it's fairly remote, it's fairly easy to access. Is it too hot in your summer to drill? Or can you just give us non-Australians some insight on working and drilling in Australia?
So the Pilbara is characterised by very hot summers, over 40 degrees. But on the coastal area where Becher was, etc., we're also exposed to cyclone season. And I mean big cyclones, typhoons in your language. So normally December to February is not a drilling season. It's like super hot, and you're at risk of cyclones and a lot of rain, and you're just putting people at risk being there. So Becher, we actually ran quite late. We finished up around about the middle of December, but we didn't start drilling again until March, and that was after a cyclone had come through, because cyclone brings rain, which cuts access. So that's number one. You'll see on the video, it's not mountainous that you kind of see elsewhere, and it's pretty flat, a bit like the picture behind me, so that's okay. But some of the projects like Nunnery, it's only 40 kilometres off a main access road, but building a track to get a drill rig in there is a bit of work. So it is remote in a lot of the projects that we're looking at. Previous explorationists haven't been there, and we have to build the infrastructure to get drill rigs in there. So it is quite remote in that regards. We have a range of opportunities for different drill rigs that helps us reduce that logistical cost. Besha was about 2.5 hours from the town of Karratha, which has about 100,000 people and all the services for the mine industry. So it's a bit of a mixed blessing, but the key one is we generally only have about 8 months a year that we can actually do valuable exploration on the ground.
Gotcha. There's a question here. What are your plans at Purdy's and Comet wells?
Yeah, so good question. So for those with a historical background in Novo, Commonwealth and Purdy's had a great presence of nuggety gold. Through that, we did a lot of work through until probably early last year. We did some work on ore sorting, which showed that it quite well. But at the moment, we've put that into the too hard basket. We just haven't seen the gold concentration that would bring that into an economic project. When you're adding top of the mining costs, the processing costs, and the approvals costs. Commonwealth and Purdy's about a 2-year approval pathway. So we definitely, per some announced, we've just put that project on hold. Overall, whilst there is good gold concentrations, there doesn't appear to be enough gold that would make a project economic.
All right. With your ASX listing, you're in the early stages of that, but would that be a direct listing, or are you contemplating raising capital through that as well? Are you able to sort of broad outlines of maybe how much capital that would be raised at the moment? That time?
Yeah, can't provide too much color to that. Getting through to the ASX allows that platform that, through future raising would give us liquidity. But as you've seen at the moment, we've got a reasonable amount of cash. But, if we have great success, we definitely know at some stage we'll need to raise money, sometime later this year or early next year. But we're still working through that pathway. Yeah.
And because that's several months away, you'd be getting some initial exploration results out of that before the listing would come up. So there could be some good catalysts.
Yeah, still a bit of play, Martin, on the timings because, all the regulatory framework and whatever else. But if you go back to the presentation, Nunnery, you'll start to see results in August. De Grey will go back drilling probably end of July. So people will see, August onwards, a good pathway of results coming from Nunnery and also continuation results from Besha.
All right. We have a question here about the air core drilling. Can you just maybe, one of the features of it, I believe it's less expensive and it's pretty quick to do. What exactly is it, or how is it different from our core drilling?
Again, on the website, in one of the tabs under exploration, there's a section on glossary, and you'll see a bit of our core, air core. Essentially, a simple way, tube drilling. We drill through cover, surface cover, soils and sands. We drill down to the bedrock. Depending on the strength of the machine, you might only be able to drill 5 meters of bedrock. These drills have not a lot of power that you might see in a diamond drill machine or other else. So essentially, you're taking a sample of that material. It comes up through the drill pipe, and as it comes through, there's a machine on the back of the drill rig that will then take a sample every 1 meter of that drilling, and the geologist will then put that in a bag, and we send it off for assaying. So it really is a very, very fast way to get deep soil assays across a region. Now, obviously, most of North America, you don't have that cover issue, but in the Pilbara, in our case, we've got 10 to 20 meters of soil cover, and we're really trying to look at what the quality of the base rock is. It's very fast. We would do 500 meters of air core drilling, a day. So between September and March, September and December, only in that period, we did over 30,000 metres of air core drilling. And you do it in a pattern, as you saw in the picture. You do fence lines. We were doing them 640, but every 10 metres we would doing a very rapid drill hole. Literally takes 2 to 3 minutes for a drill hole. So you have a team of people that are continually taking samples, putting in them bags, marking up. So we'd have a team of probably 3 to 4 geologists and field people assisting that process. So a very rapid, fast, cheap way to get good soil coverage. And then on the basis of that, you then go to spend more serious money on different drilling platforms.
Gotcha. A question here on the, excuse my pronunciation, the Nullagine gold project. Is there any possibility of high grading the ore there and sorting to make the give some more favorable economics to that?
Good question, because obviously Novo's got a background of ore sorting. We've explored that option for other areas of the Pilbara, and we actually own a little ore sorter. Unfortunately, the Beatons Creek ore body has proven not to be one of those that we can use ore sorting to high grade it. So that's not an opportunity for us. But in normal, mining parameters, once the new resource update is, we'll grab new mining costs, and I think people have seen a lot of commentary that the mining costs are quite high in Australia at the moment. We'll use that to have another look at the economics of Beatons Creek.
All right. There's a question here. What are the chances of De Grey buying out Novo? And I guess maybe wider, yes. What is the relationship between De Grey, to be less pointed, but what is the relationship there? How good is the relationship between?
Look, we have a great relationship. They've got two focuses. One is getting their DFS completed in Q3 and then moving out into a pathway. And then they have a clear focus and strategy that they've talked about of, in their western part of the tenement, building up the resource base. And that's where Novo comes into it. We've provided them access to probably the best potential area for them to grow the resource base. At the moment, we've got agreement that provides an escrow arrangement for them in terms of their shares. So, there's nothing that would happen imminent. If something happened 4 or 5 years down the track, I think we just have to wait and see the benefits for shareholders. But I'd go back to my comment before. We fought really hard to get a 50-50% joint venture. And the reason for that is we wanted the upside. We wanted Novo shareholders to hold 50% of the upside of whatever success comes out of Becher. We think that's really important and provides maybe a trigger and a platform to huge revaluation of Novo's share price. And whilst it might only be 50%, we've seen, De Grey literally was a $50 million company and is now a $2 billion company. So we see Becher as a good leverage of that. And the money that De Grey have now, putting that into the project, de-risks it for Novo shareholders, given that we've got so many other prospective tenements.
Yeah, and your property has potential huge synergies with them since it's right and adjacent
next door
to their property. Your other projects are maybe not so synergistic.
Correct. Nunnery is too far away. And it is a good thing is that, a good point is that even if we were 100% owners of Becher and we continually fund it, which could take, $25 million, if not more, to get to a resource base, it would take a real super large project to justify the capital expenditure on a standalone processing plant when you've got this really big processing plant only 30 kilometres away, treating similar ore bodies, similar metallurgy. So the economics would probably always drive you to have a chat with them in the first place. We're just doing it at an early stage. And what's more exciting is, even at this early stage, after 60,000 metres of air core drilling, they'll put in a value of 50% at 25 million. So I think that's a good win for everyone. Yeah. And I think the other side is De Grey have been good explorers. They've been there for 4 years. They know the ground very well, and they're well down the path. So whilst they mightn't be known very well in, North America, the fact that, and they've got major shareholders, institutional funds in Canada and in North America on their register, their performance on the Australian Stock Exchange reflects people's credibility or confidence in the size of the project and that going forwards.
All right. Michael, we're going to wrap things up here. You've mentioned a lot of the different milestones coming up. Can you just summarize them a little bit so people are clear what kind of catalyst and news flow we should be expecting over the next couple months or couple quarters?
Good question. So we're going to wrap up all of this kind of exploration story in a bit of a exploration update next week. So people should look out for that. It won't have any kind of new news, but it puts the story together given that there's been a few changes. The big one was, us talking about going to drilling at Nunnery. We'll release those, that milestone in August, and then you'll see the drilling results from that. Likewise, from August onwards, you should start to see some new results from Becher. As reconnaissance work happens at Balla Balla, people will see us, give us a good update. So there'll be continuous news flow all the way through the rest of the year, really focused on Becher and Nunnery, because that's where we'll be doing our exciting drilling. But just watch out for the work that we do at Bell Topper and Balla Balla in terms of opportunities for drilling targets.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for taking the time
Absolute pleasure.
Introduce us to the Novo story and get us up to date here. Love to have you back as news continues and give us updates along your progression.
Thanks very much, Martin.